Summer, 1942. Hitler's gaze turned east, not just for oil, but for Stalingrad, named after his greatest enemy. The city sprawled along the Volga, a symbol of Soviet might. For Hitler, its capture was personal, a chance to humiliate Stalin. The German Sixth Army, led by General Pavlov, was the spearhead of Operation Blue. But Hitler's obsession diverted them to Stalingrad. On August 23rd, over 600 bombers unleashed hell on Stalingrad. The city erupted in firestorms. Oil tanks exploded. Rivers of flame poured toward the Volga. Stalingrad became a landscape of twisted metal and ash. But the flames forged resolve, not surrender. The Germans advanced, but the city refused to fall. The battle for Stalingrad had begun, a fight for the soul of a nation. Operation Blue was Hitler's gamble for a knockout blow. Army Group South surged into southern Russia, aiming for oil and to cut off Soviet forces. But Hitler's fixation on Stalingrad became a fatal flaw. Blitzkrieg tactics faltered in the maze of ruins. The Germans marched into a trap of their own making. Stalingrad became a battlefield of ruins. Rattenkrieg, the Rat War. Soldiers fought for every room, every staircase, every pile of rubble. The front line was a wall, a floor, a single doorway. General Tchuikov's 62nd Army clung to the riverbank, refusing to yield. His strategy? Stay close to the enemy, neutralizing German firepower. Stalin's order? Not one step back. Retreat meant death. Desperation and hatred fueled Soviet resistance. Factory workers fought in the ruins of their workplaces. The Germans advanced, but every metre cost them dearly. Iconic sites, Mamayev Kurgan, the grain elevator, the factories, became killing grounds. The city was a meat grinder, devouring men and machines. The Germans, used to victory, found only attrition and agony. Stalingrad was not falling. It was bleeding them dry. Civilians trapped in Stalingrad faced hell on earth. They hid in cellars, scavenged for food, drank from puddles, and endured constant bombardment. Children wandered the ruins, orphaned and starving. Soldiers on both sides lived in filth, plagued by lice, rats and exhaustion. Death was everywhere, by bullet, shell or starvation. Yet humanity persisted. A shared cigarette, a letter home, a moment of kindness. Snipers turned the ruins into a deadly game. Vasily Zaitsev became a legend. Winter arrived with brutal force. Temperatures plunged, weapons froze, frostbite spread. German uniforms were no match for the cold. Starvation and disease claimed thousands. The once mighty Sixth Army was trapped in a frozen nightmare. The city's ruins became both prison and grave. The will to survive was all that remained. Stalingrad's defenders endured, refusing to break. The siege was as much about spirit as it was about steel. The city's agony became its strength. In the heart of the city, a single apartment block became legend. Pavlov's house. Sergeant Yakov Pavlov and his men, with help from civilians, held it for 2 months against relentless German attacks. They turned the building into a fortress, disrupting enemy movements and inspiring the city. The Germans marked it as a fortress on their maps, but never took it. Pavlov's house became a symbol. A handful of defenders could defy an army. Their stand bought precious time and hope for Stalingrad. In the ruins, the human spirit proved indomitable. As Germans bled in the city, the Soviets prepared a masterstroke, Operation Uranus. Marshal Zhukov amassed over 1 million men and thousands of tanks on the German flanks. On November 19, 1942, Soviet artillery shattered the Romanian lines north of Stalingrad. The next day, a southern assault crushed the other flank. The pincers closed rapidly. The trap was sprung. Over 300,000 Axis troops were encircled in the Stalingrad cauldron. Hitler refused to allow a breakout, declaring Stalingrad a fortress. Göring promised to supply the army by air, a fantasy. The Sixth Army was ordered to hold, awaiting relief that would never come. The hunters had become the hunted. The German summer victors now faced annihilation in the Russian winter. The fate of the Sixth Army was sealed. The Soviets had turned the tide. The jaws of the trap snapped shut. Inside the cauldron, hope died quickly. The Luftwaffe's airlift failed. Starvation rations and bitter cold took hold. Horses were eaten, artillery abandoned, men grew weak and desperate. Disease, typhus, dysentery, pneumonia spread unchecked. The cauldron became a frozen graveyard. In December, Manstein's relief force came within sight, but Hitler forbade a breakout. The last hope flickered and died. The Soviets tightened the ring, launching Operation Ring to finish the job. Ammunition gone, the Germans could barely resist. The Sixth Army was reduced to starving, freezing shadows. They fought on, not for victory, but because there was no escape. The end was inevitable. The once invincible army was broken. The silence of death settled over the ruins. Stalingrad's agony was nearly over. By late January 1943, the Sixth Army was finished. The last airfield lost, supplies gone, hope extinguished. Paulus requested permission to surrender. Hitler refused, promoting him to field marshal. But Paulus surrendered anyway, unwilling to die for a lost cause. On January 31st, Soviet troops found him in the ruins, ready to give up. 2 days later, the last German resistance ended. Of 300,000 trapped, only 91,000 surrendered. Emaciated, frostbitten, dying. Most would never see home again. The myth of the invincible Wehrmacht was shattered. For the Soviets, it was a triumph. For Germany, a national trauma. The tide of war had turned. Stalingrad was a wasteland, rubble, ice, and death. Yet from the ashes, the city was rebuilt, a testament to resilience. The battle became the defining story of Soviet sacrifice and victory. Stalingrad marked the turning point of World War II. The German army would never recover. The Red Army pressed on to Berlin. Today, the city's monuments, like the towering Motherland Calls, honor the fallen. The hill of Mamayev Kurgan is a mass grave, sacred ground. Stalingrad's legacy is a warning. The cost of hubris, the power of will. The battle was a clash of ideologies, fought in unimaginable brutality. In the frozen ruins, history changed forever.